everybody. Josh Marpet here. We're going to be talking about security automation today. And it's a fascinating topic, and it's one I've recently gotten involved in pretty significantly, recently being the last, 10 years. So let's start off. Okay, good. Sorry, Discord said, your stream is still running. We just paused this preview. I'm like, what does that mean? Hang on, I got to read it. You know, it's like a user. You got to read an error message occasionally. What an idea. All right, so this is me. I'm the co-chief vision officer of Red Lion. I'm a digital forensics guy. I've been around the block. I'm not going to read this to you, dear God. BSides Delaware is my conference along with Janice Paulson. And I'm also on the board of BSides DC. I've been on the board of BSides Las Vegas, Hackers for Charity. I'm an ex-cop, ex-fireman, ex-horse dentist. No, I'm not joking. And yes, my business partner, Scott Lyons, will tell you about it in detail if you ask, especially if you buy him a beer. Been around the block more than once. Patent pending on a blockchain storing forensic files patent. And like I said, just about done everything in the history of what you can do in this world. Although I've never made astronaut. So I've been fireman, cop, but not astronaut. One of these days, NASA, better watch out, okay? All right. So today we're going to be talking about security automation. We're going to be talking about definition, history, types, successes, failures, the psychology of it, budgets. Does it really help? What is the steam engine time Josh talks about? And then we're going to do some wild speculation and hand-wavy stuff. Okay, so we'll talk about that, and we might even get to what the next lecture is going to be on. Although since I don't think I added it to the slides, maybe not. We'll see. We're doing this sort of on the fly. Just to be clear, if I told you that I finished my slides more than 10 minutes ahead of this talk, I would be lying. So it should be interesting. Let's party. All right. So what is automation in the first place? Like, where does it come from? Automation, of course, is how to automate a process. And we're not talking about a single task, unless that task is also a process. But how do you automate a process? Using electronic devices, software, code, something, whether it's a robotic arm run by a Raspberry Pi, welding a car together. That's an automation of a process using a piece of hardware. Whether you're automating by writing a script for 4 hours to take care of a 30-second job, never, ever get that return on investment. But hey, you automated it, okay? As every good sysadmin knows, if you have to do it 3 times, it's time to automate it, right? So that's the idea of automation. We're taking some task or process and we're turning it over to a mechanical or electronic or software-based solution. I think we've defined that pretty well. Now, actually, Gartner goes on to define it even more. They have something called SOAR. You might have heard of this: security orchestration, automation, and response. These are ideas that they're using primarily for SOCs, security operation centers. They're saying when you pull in the alerts from your SIEM, your security incident event management system, when you pull in all the logs, when you pull in all the data, when you automate the ingestion of all that data, collection and ingestion, I should say, and you take all those inputs and you process them, and then you output alerts, notifications, dashboards, reports, whatever your visualization of choice is, you're automating that, or you can automate all of that. All right. So we can orchestrate our security by orchestrating all of the different point products and all the different tools. We can automate it by ingesting automatically, processing automatically, and pushing out, visualizing automatically. And we can respond. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We can respond by, oh gosh, somebody reported that they lost a laptop. Here's what we now have to do. And it invokes the process. It invokes the system that you perform when a laptop is lost. And then you go through all of these different steps. All right, cool. But where's the decision? So in the military, they use something called OODA loops. And they're decision loops. I'm not going to get into the definition of them. But they're decision loops. And if you have a drone with a Hellfire missile, for that drone to fire that Hellfire missile, it requires a human to be in the loop to actually push the button, okay, or make the decision to fire the missile. Are we keeping people in these OODA loops, in these decision loops of ingestion, processing, and visualization? Are we as humans making decisions? This is where it gets interesting. When you automate something, should you keep a human in? Where do you keep the human in? And I'll get into that later. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is really fun. What decisions need a human decision? What decisions can be automated? These are where these questions start sort of perking up, if that makes sense. This is fascinating stuff. So we actually, so Red Lion, my company, is actually a compliance company, and we're like, SOAR is nice. It's a really cool acronym. It's an actual word. It's neat. It's nice. It's wonderful. We don't like it. So we've got a couple of choices, and honestly, I'd love some of your feedback. We thought of a couple because honestly, we want security and compliance, orchestration, automation, response, and risk evaluation, because that's what we're doing. We're evaluating the risks. We're automating the collection of data, the processing of data, the orchestration of the point products to collect and process that data, and we're automating the response. Well, can we do that for security and compliance? Yes. Along the way of the collection, processing, and visualization and response, the decisions made on that data, can we perform a risk evaluation and even a threat evaluation to determine, is this something we should do right now, or should we wait a little bit and let a human in the decision loop? So we thought of SCORE, spelled a little weirdly, but still a word. We thought of actually just splitting off the compliance entirely. So compliance orchestration, automation, and risk evaluation instead of response. So I'm curious what you all think, and I'd really love to hear your thoughts either in the post-talk Q&A room, on Twitch comments, on YouTube comments, email me, call me, Twitter at me, whatever. I'd love to hear what you think, okay? So please, your vote matters. Not as much as it mattered a few weeks ago, just to be clear, but it does matter. All right, and for anybody that didn't get that joke, it's just after the election right now. All right, so typical security automation. You purchase all these point products and you want to automate them. Well, what kind of point products are you buying? And what kind of integrative systems are you buying? I mean, nobody here knows about Nessus, and nobody here has ever gotten a pen test where the low-cost pen test vendor barely scrubbed the Nessus logo off the front of the report, right? More than I like to admit, it's gotten that way. Vulnerability scanning, asset discovery. If you've never heard of Rumble, oh dear God, go to rumble.run. It's amazing. If you need any help with that, yell. We're a reseller, and I'm not trying to sell you. I'm just saying I can absolutely give you some advice on that. Event correlation, elastic.co. Active Directory examination. If anybody remembers the old Bloodhound, that's still around. I think it's still useful. Anybody here use it still? Incident management, security. JP Bourget, a good friend of mine, started it. He actually just sold to, I think, Swimlane. For a third-party security assessment, Prevalent. A friend of mine, Rob, used to work there. For ticketing systems, you've got Jira. For SIMs, you've got, elastic.co, sorry. So for event correlation and SIMs, same thing. But for identity and access management systems, SailPoint, one of the better entitlement systems I know of, but it's not cheap, let's be clear. So you've got all these point products. They're all collecting data. They're all doing things with the data. They're all managing data. Which of them are automation systems? Really, only one or two of these are automation systems. Elastic.co down in the lower right is a SIM. So it can automate. Does it? Well, it depends on how you set it up. None of these products out of the box are automation systems. All of these products have the ability to automate, but none of them out of the box are automation systems. They are effectively point products. And I don't mean to insult or impugn any of them. They're all good products in their own way, but they are designed for a specific purpose. So how do I automate them? Well, I mean, for those of you that are coders, you're going, hey, they've got APIs. I can API them into something. The answer is, yeah, of course you can. Have fun building it. It's going to be unpleasant because by the time you normalize the data, by the time you get all the data in one place, by the time you figure out what all the different parsing patterns are for logs, it might be a few years later, and your boss might have gone, what happened? I set you to do one little integration project, and it's 4 years later. I stopped paying you after year one. What happened? That kind of thing. It gets ugly fast. So you want to be careful with that. Integrations are not easy. Trust me. But they are possible. All of these products, I believe all of these products have API integrations. So you can do integrations, but be careful how you do them. They can get ugly fast. All right. I didn't see that meme. My business partner, Scott Lyons, drops memes everywhere in my presentations. He's actually done it before that I'll start a presentation I gave like literally the day or two before, and there's different memes in it just so he can get me to stop and laugh. One time I was taking a drink at the same time I switched the slide, and he actually got me to choke and cough. He said, I was worried, but I still counted it as a point. Bastard. So why is automation so important? And this is a psychological question as well as a money question, because automation is important because people are expensive. They cost a lot of money. We can attrit our workforce. We can not hire certain people. We can make their lives more efficient. We can do all sorts of things if I don't have to have somebody poring over the log files every day. Okay. So I can save a lot of money and I can save a lot of headcount. And I can use that headcount for really, really appropriate things that are not tedious, are not onerous, are not whatever. Okay. And it'll automatically reduce my costs. And that's a good joke because it won't. I was honestly expecting him to change that slide, to be honest with you. So this is fascinating. He didn't take this one, but he took the one before. All right, whatever. Automation isn't going to automatically reduce your costs. It is expensive, difficult, not fun. Like I said, the integrations can be incredibly difficult. So why do we do it? It's the same reason that we chased outsourcing back in the 1990s and smart shoring and right sizing and name your fad. And if you've ever seen the Gartner hype cycle, you'll notice that these things go as fads and then they come down and they come back up again to where they're actually useful. And although the hype cycle is a little weird to me, but it works. Automation and SOAR right now is just coming to where it's actually useful. And so there's quite a few companies out there that are building automation going, we automate everything. I'm not sure I believe that they automate everything. Let's put it that way. Automation done intelligently can reduce your costs, increase your efficiency, increase your profits. Automation done non-intelligently, not so much. But I mean, do we need to do it? Can we just do it the old ways? Yeah, not really. Thank you, Scott. Security technology markets in a state of overload. This is straight from Gartner, by the way. Thank you, Gartner. They said that basically there's too much pressure on budgets. There's not enough staff, and there's too many, dear Lord, and there's too many point solutions. How many point solutions? If you had to look at your company, your organization, your entity, your agency, whatever it is, and go, all right, how many point solutions do we have for just security, for just compliance, for everything in that market, for all of our technology needs? How many agents are on my workstation right now? Oh my God, there's probably 5 or 10 agents on your workstation from different products. There's 70 different point products. We went to one company that had 150 points for various point problems. And 17 agents on every workstation, and they wondered why they were having technology problems. It was massive overload. So they all were fighting. I swear to God, every single one of these point products was fighting with everything else. You could practically hear the Braveheart style screams echoing across the motherboards. It was ridiculous. So I love the memes. So it's really awkward to do this. It's very, very difficult. It is a really, really tough system to have in place. You've got so many different point products, budgetary considerations, especially this year. How many of you have had your budget slashed this year? Dear Lord God Almighty, it's ridiculous. Okay. How many of you have had your budget slashed, not allowed to hire anybody, and told we have many, many more problems we have to hit? There's over a quarter million COVID-19 scam sites out there. There's more ransomware coming out practically every day. And we can't even go on site to fix things. I mean, not that I'm complaining about working from home too much, but still it's awkward at times. So we've got to be careful of these things. And we've got to figure out how to make our dollars stretch. Okay. It's difficult. And automation has that promise. We will make your dollars stretch. We will make things work better. We will make your single pane of glass. Who's heard that before? We're going to give you a single pane of glass. You'll have all the information you need. It'll be in that single pane of glass. How often has that been true? Not as many times as the salespeople would like you to think, I think. Now, is it possible? Yes, if you're smart about it. Okay. Yes, if you're mature enough as a company to do it. Yes, if you're very clear on what you're going to get, what you're going to pay for, what you need, and you work through that with the vendors. There's a lot of good choices out there as to what you can get. But there's also a lot of bad ones. Got to be careful of these things. All right. So one of the questions we always get asked is, will this actually help? Can we automate security? Can we automate compliance? Can we automate these things to a point where it'll make a difference? The answer is maybe. If you're mature enough to take advantage of it, yes. So here's the test. If you tell the head of IT or IT security, pick one, I don't care. Here's a problem. Here's a point product solution to fix the problem. And they go, that's fantastic. Go buy it. You're not mature. No, I don't need spam calls in the middle of a presentation. So if they say that, they're not, they're not mature. All right. And it's not going to happen. But it's important because people are actually expensive. And it's hard to get them to concentrate on little things, all these log files flowing by, everything going on. Oh, well, I have a SIM that filters everything for me. Sure. And does it make the decisions for you? And does it pull it in from every single device? Does it pull it in from all your different places, all your different locations? Does it perform the scans? Does it do the compliance control testing? What does it do? Well, it filters the data. That's cute. I mean, that's viable. That's a part of what you need. You do need that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing that. You need that. But it's a part of what you need. Okay? Orchestration allows consistency in our responses. It allows us to understand that when I am answering or responding to an issue, a lost laptop, let's say, let's pick on the lost laptop. I'm going to respond to the lost laptop the same way that Rando will respond to the lost laptop, the same way that Scott Lyons will respond to the lost laptop, the same way that Blind will respond to the lost laptop. Okay? We're all going to be consistent in our responses because we have a playbook in front of us, what we're supposed to do. We just had a discussion in one of the other Discord chats here at BSides Delaware about checklists. Oh, auditors love checklists. I'm like, yeah, so do pen testers. Huh? So do system administrators. No. The answer is no. They do. The good ones do anyway. Why? Because it gives them a consistency, a process. I started in this business in help desk support. Okay, telephone help desk. Oh, dear God, that was, I'll just call it fun and leave it to nostalgia for the reality there. But one of the things that I got asked was, what separates a mature technical support organization from an immature technical support organization? And I said, being methodical. If you're methodical, you can have a flash of genius, you can have intuitive thoughts, that's great. But being methodical is what separates the mature organizations from the immature organizations. A mature organization in system administration uses a gold image, uses an AMI file, uses a Docker image, uses a configuration management system. An immature one builds what they need for each individual server, for each individual workstation, for each individual whatever. A mature pen tester works through systems all the way from top to bottom. An immature pen tester goes and, I'm sorry, I'm going to piss people off with this, but an immature pen tester goes, I see a problem, and goes and exploits that problem and breaks in and gets all the information and exfiltrates the information and writes the report and goes, yeah. And they didn't do their job. But they broke in. You're absolutely correct. They broke in. But I need them to make me more secure. Well, you found one problem and fixed it. Yeah, great. What if there's 20 more right next to it? Did he find them? Well, no. Well, then he's not done his job. And that's the issue. We have to become consistent. We have to come, as an industry, we have to come to the point where consistency is important. We have to come to the point where we are professional, where we are mature. Now, for a lot of people, they are. Don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing you. Okay? What I'm saying is that as an industry, we are supposed to be professionals. Does a plumber walk in and go, oh, there's a broken pipe, and replace that section of pipe? Yes, they do. But they also try to figure out why the pipe broke. Oh, the pipe was old. Okay, it's been pitted. They see it's been pinholed, and then all of a sudden it popped. Great, fine, they get it. Okay? But they try to perform a root cause analysis. They try to have a holistic view of what's going on. As an industry, we have to do these things because otherwise we're not performing risk evaluation and threat analysis properly. If we don't know what the risks are, and if we don't know what the threats are, we're not working properly as an industry. It's really just that simple. Again, I'm not trying to denigrate anybody, but as pen testers, as incident response people, as forensics people, as compliance people, as whatever, as anything, as system administrators, any part of IT security, compliance, investigations, whatever, we have to be professionals. And we've been working towards that for a lot of years, back from when you had COBOL cowboys to when we had our 1990s Shadowrunners, to now when we mostly wear suits and ties, except when we're home or on conference vision. Of course, being home is most of the time now. Apparently pants are now optional. I don't know these things. Anyway, but SOAR, SCORE, CORE, whatever you're going to call it, and I still want some responses on what you think it should be. We are really working on being professional, being consistent, being who we need to be sitting down at the adult table. And these SOAR, SCORE, CORE, whatever you call them, these are the way we do it. Because it not only helps automate our systems, it helps us concentrate on the important pieces that are business aligned. I'll get off my high horse. I apologize. So this is my hand wavy time, all right? And if SOAR is done properly, it saves money, time, and effort. It puts everything on rails. And if you read that list, development, DevOps, security, compliance, et cetera, it puts them all on rails. And anybody that looks at that list and sees something weird, well, that's because I put it in there deliberately just to check if you're listening. So Pizza Ops is actually fake. But if anybody comes up with something that is actually Pizza Ops, I think that would be hilarious. Anyway, so if done properly, it's amazing. It helps significantly, but you have to be mature enough to do it. You have to be in a serious enough frame of mind, if you will, to get it done properly. It takes planning. It takes effort. It's not something that's done overnight. This is not buy a new scanner, put it in, we get results the next day. This is the result of planning for years and years and years ahead of time. The result of either buying an entire suite of products in one shot, or building your own automation and your own data pipelines, if you will, from product to product to product to visualization, from ingestion to product to processing to visualization, I should say. And if you don't do it properly, you're going to waste a lot of time, a lot of effort. You're going to piss a lot of people off, and you're not going to get the results you can. You're not going to get those efficiency gains you actually can realize. So what is properly? And I'm going to expound on this just a little bit. I guess I'll end a little early. That's fine. For a small company, a large enterprise, or a Fortune 50, they're very different. For a small company, automation might mean just having a very good CI/CD pipeline. Let's assume we've got a small code shop. Automation might be, we have a great CI/CD pipeline, and we can actually kick off a build by an automated process every night, and everything works beautifully. And we are, as a software development shop, we can concentrate on writing code, not the code promotion, not the, did the build work, not the, let's do the tests. Like, we've built out our unit testing, our regression testing, our load testing, our everything. We've got all our test cases. The testing part's automated. Oh my God. Do you know how much time you've just saved us as a code workshop, as a code shop? Dear Lord. Okay. Our CI/CD pipeline. I commit some code. It goes through a static tester. It goes through a dynamic. It gets built. The built environment is in our test environment. It gets run through a dynamic testing engagement a tool or whatever. And then it goes out for the test suites that we just talked about. So I did this backwards. Sorry. And for a small code shop or code building company, that's amazing. Now their people can write code. They don't have to write and do everything else. That makes their life better. That's an efficiency improvement that is massive. And you're like, well, of course we use CI/CD. I have Jenkins. I have all this stuff. What is this so special? Trust me, there are so many companies that do not. Okay, there are so many companies that don't have CI/CD down pat. I've got to tell you this story. So this is a few years ago. I was sent to a company. I was working for, God, I forget who. I was sent to a company that does, do you know store brand credit cards? Rando, when your kids are big enough. Rando, do you have a daughter, or I forget? I'm sorry.
Nobody can hear me. 5-year-old son. Yes, I do.
You have a 5-year-old son. If you had a daughter and she's get to about 12, and your son too, I don't know, they go to Claire's and they get like a $300 credit card, you know, that you don't have to have any credit. They'll give you a $300 credit card.
Sure.
Okay. Any of those little tchotchke shops in the mall, you know, if you still have malls around you. Well, this is one of the companies that ran those private label credit cards, they're called. They sent me over there like, things are not working right. There was a problem here and a problem there and that kind of thing. And Randall, I'm gonna quiz you on this. You're gonna love this scenario. So I go over there, and their main code guy.
Oh, good. His audio froze. I'm not gonna be quizzed on anything. Where'd you go, Josh? The credit card company's got to him. Josh, where'd you go, man? Hopefully it's not me. Uh-oh. Should I just sing the Jeopardy theme until I wait for him to get back? Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. All right, while we wait for Josh to get figured out, BRB.
I'm like, you're kidding, right? No, you're joking. No. So I went over and I started his machine up, and all of a sudden things batched. This guy was running the entire credit processing system on his workstation. And I know that just about everybody listening to this stream just went, ooh. Okay. That's not proper CI/CD. That's not proper automation. That's not proper any damn thing.
Hey, Josh, the only reason we went is because you just froze for like 3 minutes.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry.
Whatever that whole story was, we said, but it wasn't because of that.
Okay, well, I'm back. Am I back properly?
Yes, you're fine now.
Okay, good. So it was still saying live. That's weird. Okay. So did you hear the denouement of the story, the end of the story?
Not really.
Okay, so all the credit batching stopped, like just died. It didn't happen that night. So I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So I look for the host name. I'm reading the code, and I look for the host name that the stuff is running on. I'm like, which server is it on? I don't even know. Nobody knows because their lead code guy's on vacation. Can you guess where it was running?
At his house?
On his workstation right there in the office.
Oh, whoops.
Because we sent a patch out and shut every machine down because we updated all the machines. And his machine, you know, his machine wasn't on. So, yeah. The guy, wait, did I lose the whole story?
Yeah, essentially, like,
okay,
so you ended with, Randa, I'm going to quiz you later. And then you froze. And I was like, well, thank God I don't got to take a quiz now.
Well, you took it anyway, damn it. Basic, the 30-second version of the story. In all seriousness, it was a private label credit card processing company. I did an upgrade on their machines. I spun a patch out because I'm like, oh God, you guys need some patches really badly. So I was doing it in waves. I spun a patch out, deployed a patch across all of their workstations and servers, upgraded everybody, and they were all shut down that night. I said, turn your machines on the next morning. This one guy was on vacation, so he didn't turn his machine on. None of the credit card processing batched. And it turns out that he was running all the credit card batch processing on his workstation in his office because that way he could know it worked. And he could remote desktop into it from outside to check it if it went wrong.
Well, that's just convenient.
I mean, isn't that a wonderful idea?
Was he doing it over VNC or something?
Straight RDP, which he had coded into the firewall.
Fun.
And so he was just,
fun side story on VNC. If you Google my name, one of the Google results is a thread that I put at the beginning of my IT career asking how to VNC from the outside to my company's server. Oops.
We'll be taking that down and saving it for blackmail. Just
it's so bad. It's right on Google. Like, it's one of the last links.
That's horrible. This guy, like that's not CI/CD. That's not security. That's horrifying. But he's like, but I automated it right on my machine to process everything perfectly, and I can log in remotely to check if it goes wrong. Now, this was a small company, like 40 people, but still, I'm sorry, that's credit cards. Have they heard of PCI? Okay. They were doing plenty of transactions. But they were doing SAQs, self-assessment questionnaires, and anybody that's in compliance just cringed right there because there's so many things wrong with what I just told you. Okay. Like horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. Let's just put it this way. I very specifically said to my boss at the time, I'm like, I will do the security issues that they're having problems with. When it comes to their compliance, I'm walking the hell away because there's no way I'm getting them compliant without rejiggering everything. And the only guy that knew their code was this one guy. And if he got hit by a concrete truck, they were out of business. And if I went in and said, you have to do it this way, this way, this way, he would have left. And I'm not putting them out of business. I'm saying, you got to send somebody else in. So they did, and they went out of business. Like, seriously, not a joke. They literally let this guy run their system for so long. He was the only one with all the keys to the kingdom. So, sorry. Anyway, so that's a small company. How about a large enterprise? Okay. For a large enterprise, automation can be amazing. You've got to make it so that nobody's indispensable. Even in that small company, we've talked about some of the basic points. Nobody's indispensable. Okay. We've got to make sure that if you get sick, if you get COVID, if you get hit by a concrete truck, you move to Florida, get sick and get COVID, whatever. Get hit by the bad drivers down there. They U-turn everywhere in Florida. It's crazy. Sorry, Kevin. I got a good friend, Kevin Johnson, in Florida, and I bust him on the driving down there all the time. But if you get sick, get hit by a concrete truck, we've got to be able to pick up the pieces and keep moving. All right. You can't have something that is done in one place and nowhere else and nobody knows about it. It's not documented. You can't have, automation has to be so that it's reliable, resilient, gets around blockages and contingencies and emergencies, the whole 9 yards. But so that's common to small, large, Fortune 50, doesn't matter. That's common. But how you define properly implementing automation is different for all of these companies. For the small company, a good CI/CD pipeline with backups of code and a backup programmer, done. They're good. They're in good shape, right? For a large enterprise, you've got to make sure that you're meeting your compliance requirements. You've got to make sure that you're meeting your security requirements. You've got to make sure that you're doing things in a sensible fashion. Again, a good CI/CD pipeline, good test cases that you have tested automatically on the end of the code. And I'm picking on code, but it doesn't matter. With security, it's how are you doing your vuln scanning? How are you doing your asset management? How are you doing your configuration management? How are you doing your change management? Are these all integrated? Because if they're not, I'm sorry, you're not doing it properly. Okay. And it's just that simple. And when you get to Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, whatever, when you get to the big guys, you know what I'm saying? The big companies, you have to make sure that not only your security and your compliance are automated, but your risk evaluation, your threat analysis, your business impact analysis on change, you're adding more and more pieces. When you add more and more pieces, yeah, you're bigger companies. There's a lot more sort of slop in the budget. But when you add all these pieces, it adds up fast. This is a lot of people working on these things. The more data collection, processing, and visualization, pushing out the data to the people or places responsible for it, that you can do, the more consistent you can be and the smarter you can be about what you're doing and the ramifications of the decisions. Okay? Look, we're going to be doing a series of these lectures on security and compliance automation. I think it's fascinating. We're going to So disclaimer time, Redline is studying it pretty intensely. We're heavily involved in standards making as well as product building. So this is like something that's really got our attention, if that makes sense. We think that right now is steam engine time for automation. If you're not familiar with that term, Rendo, are you familiar with the term steam engine time? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
No, I do not, as a matter of fact.
So if you're a Terry Pratchett fan, he wrote the Discworld series and a lot of others. And this is not just from Terry Pratchett, but I love this. He has this one book which talks about, steam engines were built at 3 different places at the same time, or 4 different places, I forget. And that's actually a true story. in regular world history, when steam engines were built, they were built at, I think, 3 places at the same time, and all the inventors had never talked to each other. They had nothing to do with each other. It was not that they stole the idea from each other, although they swore that you must have stolen it from me. No. They just steam engine time. Like, it was time for steam engines to come out. So they did. And if this guy had failed, well, there were 2 others coming up the road, if you will. And they had nothing to do with each other. So they had different models, different designs, different ideas, but they were all steam engines, and they were all being built all at the same time. Right now, it is time for security and compliance automation. You've got a half a dozen companies doing it this way, a half a dozen companies doing it that way, 5 dozen companies doing it this way. It's a very popular way, whatever. Some companies are automating compliance. Some companies are automating security. Some companies are automating a lot of this, all of that. Some companies are automating your checklists, your risk register, your third-party surveys that you send out, your questionnaires that you send out. Oh God, please stop with the questionnaires. Okay, just to be clear. Some people are automating your vulnerability management program. You get the idea. But the idea of automation of the chunks of security and compliance and risk are all really happening right now. Okay, so you've got a lot of different companies doing different things in different ways with different mindsets behind it. So if you're looking at automation, you need to decide what you want to automate and why before you say, we're going to pick an automation company. You look good. Let's use you. You're cheaper than them. Well, they might be very different solutions. The one guy might automate just vuln scanning. And the other company, well, she might automate vuln scanning and, compliance, half of the compliance controls that you have. So yeah, they may be cheaper, but that's a better choice. It's going to give you more value. Or you might go, I don't care about the compliance controls. I've got another company that does that. That's fine. Your use case, your need, your desire for automation, orchestration, response, risk evaluation, et cetera, needs to be very carefully formed and shaped and understood before you buy any of these products. Please, God, stop buying point products. Start buying things to integrate the point products you already have, and start buying systems, integrated frameworks that start giving you information you can use in an actionable format that will give you the way to do something, move your company forward in an efficient manner that saves you time and lets you get some sleep. I know that stuff that's illusionary, okay? So if there's anything I can give you as a takeaway, it's this. I have not gone too incredibly deeply into the technicalities of this. What I have done is tried to give you an overview of automation for security and compliance as a field. It is a field, but it's a very, very widely varied field. Know what you need, buy only what you need, and get a good price. All right? Thank you. And if you have any questions, there's some contact info. I'm happy to answer any questions from the Twitch stream or the YouTube, although I'm not actually don't have it open right this second, sorry. But if somebody has any, they can throw it to me in the post-talk Q&A in a couple of minutes, or you can ask it on Twitch right now, and I'll try to answer them live.
There's the only one we have is from Beep Boop Beep. Just a comment from them that said it's a slippery slope to have written a checklist to capture testing items. If not done correctly, you'll just turn a pen test into a QA test.
That's a really good point. And this this was going back to the discussion I was having with W. Mackey, which was great stuff. And I enjoyed that very much, by the way, about, compliance people like checklists and penetration testers like checklists, the good ones. You've got to understand that when you're testing something for maturity, and I'm having this discussion in a standard that I'm working on, and I can't talk about it. I think I can. I think I can. I'm on a CMMC working group. We help to build a lot of the pieces of CMMC. It's a lot of fun, but it's fascinating discussing what does maturity mean. And I'm not going to go into the details. I can't. I am under NDA. But I will tell you that it's fascinating discussing what maturity means and how do you measure it and how do you determine from what pieces of paper and what pieces of evidence and what interviews and all that kind of thing can you get the picture of maturity. And it's a very delicate, as you said yourself, it's a very delicate difference. Like, for example, a full red team pen test, okay? Full scope red team test, your red team engagement, shall we say, it's going to get you a hell of a lot better results than somebody running, hitting the big red button on I'm not ArcSight, on any of the pen testing frameworks, okay? On the other hand, the criminals have now decompiled Cobalt Strike, and they've got Cobalt Strike and GitHub all over the damn world. And they're like, it's good enough. I'm getting into half the sites I'm looking at. And it's just the big red button. So, again, you've got to weigh your options very carefully. So that was a great comment. Thank you. Anybody else? If not, I will be in the Track 1 post-talk Q&A and coming back in about 15 minutes to introduce James Corbett for his Impact Talk.